what do you think about where are you at with Zach Johnson?
Hmm.
Just like
Tough. Yeah.
get
I've
get him
always
out of
liked
here.
Zach. This was really
Yeah,
unfortunate. I wanted things to go better.
he got ripped like
Yeah.
these past couple days.
Yeah. His posts, right after matches had wrapped up on Sunday, that was a really good interview. Not because he said anything important, but just like watching him just completely break down uh,
Yeah,
and just start crying was like, wow, this sucks. Because I wanted the best for him, but he just made a lot of bad calls. I mean, obviously like the epitome being taking driver out of Jordan's hand, but you can't. There's
it was so
you
insane.
just don't say anything. You can't get involved. Even if Jordan like hits the fairway there, like there's so much room for that to go wrong by jumping in the player caddy conversation that you really just should know better. Obviously, the pairings seem to be like he got waxed in the four ball and foursome
Yeah,
events. Um, but I do feel for him because I wish he like I want him to get another shot. I know he never will now because it was
yeah.
such a
There's no
mess.
shot.
But I wish it had just gone a little bit better. So maybe he could have gotten another try at Bethpage. But I don't even know if he'll be a vice captain at this point. Like I don't know if they want him anywhere near the program.
I, it's so interesting because like I actually think this goes to the whole like home soil versus away soil. Like I actually think I would be totally fine with him having or like being more involved in the Bethpage team, um, because that's like you can be more tactical and like you just come from such a place of confidence there. But
Yeah.
there was just he was never going to bring this team to Italy
No.
and get them in the right like head place to win
No.
this. I will say a couple things. Like one, Luke Donald is just like a savant. Like he came
Yeah.
out looking so good. Like
Yeah.
just such a stud. Everyone clearly like just like respects him so much. Um, it's just tough because that's what Zach was competing against, and like he just got outclassed
It
to
did
the
feel
nth
like
degree.
yeah, to like make an analogy out of that exact point. That's a great point. Like it did feel like Simpleton American gets outplayed by
Oh,
worldly
refined,
genius
like
upper
James Bond
class
esque.
Oxford guy. Like that is it did feel like they were stepping on our like little
Yeah,
two bit boy from Iowa.
it
And
totally
they
was.
nailed it.
But
So
the other thing is like we were never going to win or lose this Ryder Cup based off of like the captainship.
no, yeah,
Uh, like we were whatever it was like coming out of whistling and like 2 years ago, like we were a much better team on paper and just like in general like had way more depth. Like we just had more talent, and that talent like if we were going to win, it was going to be because of that, like not because of
yeah,
some like pairings,
yeah,
whatever chemistry magic. Like I think it was really the players just like didn't show up, and I don't think you can blame Zach for that, but he definitely didn't help anything.
no.
So I do feel for the guy.
That's a follow up question. Like, does Stricker, if the roles are reversed, Zach is 2 years ago, Stricker is this year. Do you think we see different outcomes, or do you think we see exactly what we saw?
I think we see exactly what we saw, like maybe a little bit better, but like the momentum in terms of just people playing good golf was so heavily on the European side just over the last like 8 weeks. Like
Yeah,
the European team just skyrocketed. I mean, Hovland is literally the best player in the world.
yep,
Uh, John Rahm is right there. Rory is still like untouchable. And then the U.S. team, like no one was playing, and the ones who were playing weren't playing well. Like it was bizarre how far they fell in such a short period of time, even from like halfway through the PGA season.
yeah. That, and we'll get into this too, but Zinger made a lot of comments that were not good. But he was
Yeah,
hard on the they haven't played narrative all weekend. And I wasn't really giving too much credence to that. I didn't like golf is still golf to me at some point, but like they were spot on about that. It was they clearly were unprepared to play competitive golf. Uh, on this
But even that,
like
like,
size.
whose fault is that? Is like, who needs to go tell like Jordan Spieth, hey, the Ryder's coming up? Like, I know, and everyone's doing this, but like Jordan Spieth just had a kid, God bless.
Yeah.
But like, who needs to tell them that like, hey, this is on the calendar, like you should be practicing? I don't understand like how that is even Zach's responsibility or anyone.
I don't think that could ever feasibly happen with how the U.S. team is set up. Like, could you imagine anybody being unless Tiger himself like went down the line and said, "We are going to go play the BMW PGA in England the week before the Ryder Cup to get ready mentally." Like, this team is so fractured, even at their best. Like, there's so many dudes in that room who, not publicly, a little bit publicly, like just can't stand each other, don't want to play this event. Like, nothing is going to force them to get up and prepare in a mostly meaningless competitive tournament 2 weeks before this just to get into shape for the Ryder Cup. So it really feels like that'll never be the answer.
I feel like we almost like half-assed, like they're talking about like the good old boys club with like Justin and JT and Ricky, and like I feel like we sort of ended up in no man's land, where like we tried to make sure that people had people they liked on the team. And I know there's like I think the European does it in like groups of 4.
Yeah, the pod system.
The pod system. But the US, like Zach Johnson is such like an analytical guy. Like, he's not. If they were going to go that path, then there needs to be a whole different environment or ecosystem around that team to be like, we're in this for each other. But like, it was such an awkward blend of people who were like so clearly out there for themselves, along with like the cool kids club that like was like they were the worst people on the team. So like, what was the point of that?
Yeah, the No Laying Up preview did a ton to talk about the pod system, and I know it's worked. I don't want to hit the freak out button because we lost one Ryder Cup in Europe, which we've done all the time for the last 2 decades. But like, even with the European pod system and having like the Nordics go together and having the like British Isles people go together and having just the friends be paired up and like doing the rookie with the older guy setup, there's still 12 guys at the end of the day. Where our pod system, like you had just said, it does feel like they can't. It feels like here's a niche. I have to bring it back to the NESCAC, like small D3 athletic schools. Like, there's 2 sides to every small D3 school. There's the athletic campus and the kids who hate the athletes.
Yes.
There are times when the athletes can bond. Yeah. There's times when lacrosse and baseball and football can all get together. And then at the end of the day, on Saturday nights, those 3 houses are not going to throw the same parties. And if you try and walk into one of those 3 houses from a different house, you're going to get your shit rocked. And that is like always how the U.S. team is going to feel to me. Like, they're all the same. Like, nobody here is different.
Yeah.
There's no reason for you guys to be doing this, but there's never going to be enough to truly get them together.
God, that was such a good niche analogy.
I know you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I 100% do. I can't wait to clip that. My other thing on it is like I know KBV, also speaking of No Laying Up, was like asking this question about like the European team. Like, it's so shocking that they all get along so well. They're from different countries and like different flags, and I'm like, dude, what do you think the U.S. is like? The different states may as well be different countries. Like,
we are different countries
East Coast versus West Coast. Like, it really is basically the same in my mind. Like, it's not surprising to me at all that the European team can bond as easily or more easily than the U.S.
If you put me in a room with Brooks from Tallahassee, like, I'm gonna hate him. Like, as a kid from
anything, Connecticut. It's like more so. Like, it's actually like more antagonistic.
Yeah, it makes complete sense that we can't do it.